Hey there, guys. So I'm back. Sorry about the late uploads. It's just I can't upload and make videos along with the full time job that I have as a developer. So that's why it took me so long to make this next video. So this would probably be the second last video of our playlist of our project, and I hope that the next video that I make would be much more sooner than this one, and I hope it would be a good opportunity for you to learn about this project. So last time we left off on the main core part of our project, which was the AR modeling. Sorry, in this emulator you can see the model, but in my last video I showed you. And for those viewers who didn't know about or who don't know about the last videos, please go and check it out. I have uploaded them. I might also give the link of the last three videos in this app's description, in this video's description. So in last video we talked about how which package I used to make the models, um, make the 3D models, try and get them to interject with my app, and how did I use the model, what project, what kind of the plugin it was, what was its name, how do we use it. I explained all of that in the last video. In this video we will just try to cover up as much as I could. So we will start with the add to cart functionality. So as you can see, I just tapped on a product from this list and it just opened up this product detail page, and as you can see that along with the cart icon there is a 0 which shows the length of the cart item. So in getx I have made a whenever I tap on the add to cart button that is right here, it adds this product model to the cart, a list of cart which I use throughout the app, and whenever I need it I just kind of show it. So if you look at this add to cart tab button, so I have made a cart list which is in cart getx controller class. If I click on it, as you can see this is a rx type of list which is observable. Now if you don't know about getx, we when we make a list we usually do it like this: list of cart is equal to this, which makes a list which makes a variable of list of named cart, and we can use it throughout the app. But the problem with these kind of variables is that when we are working with state management or getx or anything like that, when we getx offer us a observable obx widget which renders itself whenever the observable value changes in that specific widget. For instance, if you see that this 0 right here against the cart icon, it shows me the length of this cart list. And cart list length, that means that I have 0 products. That means 0 means that I don't have anything in this cart list. And when I tap on this, it adds a value which is a 1, and this whole model, this whole product is right now it's in this cart list. So now I can do this with the simple list, but when I tapped on the add to cart button, the observable widget, the observable variable that I made, which is the cart list, it rendered itself. So I didn't have to use set state or anything. I just wrapped this icon button in a observable obx widget, and it just updated the value which was sent to the cart list. So this is why we use the rx list or observable list, which will make this variable observable, and whenever we wrap a widget around a obx widget, and we ask him to, or we give a observable value to that widget, it will render whenever the changes is in that variable is observed. So if I show you the code of this specific icon, it is this one. As you can see, this text, which is this one, is wrapped around a obx, and this obx will observe cart the cart length, which is the variable which is the list, or the observable list that I made, and it will observe the changes that occurred in that list, and it will show us on the UI, and it just makes it easier for us to manage the state of the application without rendering the whole screen again and again and again. That's why we use state management. So as you can see, when I tapped on the add to cart, it just increased the number of increased the number of list, which it added this product in that list, which had this price, this was the name of the product, and one quantity, which I can decrease because it is one, it's not going to decrease. I can increase it, I can decrease it, hold the calculation, and if I want to remove, I will just do this and it will remove the cart. And so um, that's a bug that I did not know that it exists. So if I tap add to cart, it will add this product to cart, and if we tap on cart, it will show us the cart page. But if I tap on, let's say I just get another product in the cart, item added successfully, but if I try to add a item that is already in the cart, it will give me an error like this: item already exists in cart. So the logic behind that is, when I tap on the add to cart, it will check the cart list, and if the cart list has the model URL, the model that the cart list have, the map type values, and if the model URL is equal to the product model URL that I just want to add, if in the whole cart list there is a model URL which is equal to this product which I am trying to add, it will give me an error. It will make the contain variable, it just sends a value to the contain variable. It's mostly like, if it's true or false, but in this case it just gives the value to the contain variable, and if it's the container variable is not empty, it will just show me that error, else it will add to the product to the cart. So if we tap on this, and as you can see, this is the total amount, which is the sum of these two amounts. If I increase it, it will increase this count, and if I decrease it, it will decrease this count. If I remove a product, it will remove the amount of that product. So, and let's go to the cart page. So this is the cart screen, and in this cart screen, in this cart page, in the init state of this cart page, I am just taking the total amount, I'm just taking the variable of total amount, and I'm just initializing it as 0. This line price right here is the price of this variable, like 20,000 right here, 48, 75, 750, 15,000. All of these are just these line prices in a list. I will tell you what's the logic behind this. So First of all, I am just taking this quantity, which is a list of text editing controller right here, and this quantity is just being is the this text editing fields. All of these have this quantity variable in a list. So what does that mean? When the cart is added to the amount added to the whenever the item is added to the cart, this in quantity cart dot quantity variable will also add a text editing controller in its list. So if I tap on a item right here, and if I add it to cart, it will also add a variable of quantity, which is a text editing controller list of text editing controller. It will add a text editing controller in its list, and whenever I remove it, any item from cart, it will remove a variable, it will remove a text editing controller from its list. So when I change the amount of the quantity of any variable right here, and it will just change the price of that specific item, that specific card, that specific product. So if I add 2 here, if I add 3 here, it will just change the value of that specific card. That is why I am creating a list of text editing controller, which is quantity, and a list of line price, which will change that specific index on the value of that specific index on which I am performing the change in the quantity. So whenever you're working with a list of products or list of anything, and you have changes to perform on each of the index separately, then you will also need a list of text editing controller in that case, so that the changes performed on each of the index is reflected on that specific index, not any other index whatsoever. That is why there is quantity, the list of text editing controller, which is quantity, and the list of text editing controller, which is line, exist in this screen, and that is the purpose of it. So I am just going through the list of quantity dot length, which means this I am just running a loop through it, and as I have 3 items, whenever I will come to this screen, the cart screen, it will go through the item, the number of item, the number of quantity, and it will just give the value 1 to each of the text editing controllers. That means when I come from any screen, it will have one value, each of the card will have one value in its quantity text editing controller. In the second loop, what I am doing is I am just going through the cart list. Now first I went to the quantity list, and I just initiated and gave the value 1 to each of the text editing controller of quantity, and I could have done it through this cart list also, but I just went with the quantity. Now in this loop, I am just trying to give the value of each of the items price that is stored in the variable of cart list, that is the list of maps of the products that I added to cart, and I am giving the price of that each of the card to its specific line price text editing controller. First, I'm adding a text editing controller, and I am giving that the text editing controller at that index the price of that specific card item's price right here. The purpose of this is same, because if I want to change the item quantity, it should also reflect the change in the length, the price of the that specific line, that specific index. And in this final loop right here, I am just trying to go through the line price. Now this loop will give each of the quantity value 1. This loop will give each of the line price text editing controller the price of the index, the items of the specific index. And this loop right here will add the amount of each of this line price. It will convert the line price into a double, and it will add the amount of this line price, each of the value at their index, like this price right here, and this price right here, and this price right here. And it will just go through the loop and keep on adding the value to the total amount, which will be reflected right here. This is the whole purpose of this init state of the card. So other than that, it's the UI. Just app bar will have a card named variable, and so this is the app bar, which has the text card, and here comes the single scroll view, which will have a builder. And if the cart list is empty, it will show a message that there is no item in the cart along with the picture. And if it contains some values or some items in that cart, it will generate a container, which is right here. And that whole container will have a column, which will have a single child scroll view, which will contain a container of this value. Like, I don't think that this container is necessary. So this whole column that right here will contain a single scroll view, which is just will have the items in the scroll view. And after that, there is a container that is the value of 7.78% of the screen. And there is a list view builder, which has the value, which is wrapped around a obx. Now this here is a critical part of getx. If you can see that this cart list is also a observable widget, which I told you earlier, that this cart list is a OBS widget, which is a RX list. So this cart list can be wrapped around a OBX widget. If I did not have any observable widget in this widget, observable variable in this widget, I would not be allowed to wrap it around a obx variable, because getx doesn't allow us to wrap any widget around a obx if that does not contain any observable variable. So this list view builder will have a item count of the cart length, and it will just create a card list of cards that will contain the a list of card which will have the image URL from that's the map of the card, and name, price, and the text editing controller that is right here, the quantity. So whenever I tap on this +1, it will just add a amount of here. This +1, this one will add 1 to the amount, the quantity right here, and it will add the price of that card right here with the multiply the price of the card, the price of the amount with the quantity of the card, and it will give us the line price of that specific item. Same goes for the -1, it will just reduce the quantity, and it will also initiate the condition right here which will decrease the amount of text and quantity text editing controller in this specific line, and it will also initiate the multiplication method that I created, and it will multiply this to right here with the initial price of this couch or this item, and it will show us the total price right here. All of these cards will do this. Plus and minus will just increase and decrease the quantity and give us the price of that card, and each of the card is also wrapped around a dismissible widget. Now this dismissible widget is used to delete the card or delete the container in a list of containers, and it allows us or it gives us the functionality of just swiping it to the right and deleting it. This is the main purpose of dismissible. It takes a unique key, it takes a key variable which is, or I've given it unique key, I have given it the direction, and this direction is start to end, that means left to right, and it will also show us the widget icon of delete, and on dismissed I am just removing the total amount with the line price that is right here. I'm just removing it from the total amount, and I'm also removing the line price from the list of line price text editing controller. I'm just removing the specific index that I am dismissing or deleting the card, the item from card, and I am just removing that its quantity text editing controller of that specific index and the line price text editing controller of that specific index, and I am also removing the whole item from the cart. See, it has one price, it just minus the price of that card I deleted, and it just shows us the amount that is already there. So this is the whole purpose or whole logic of the cart screen, and it just takes just performs some minimal addition, subtraction, multiplication methods, and it just goes through that process again and again till we have all the items or all the things that a user needs, and he can just proceed to checkout, and it will just take us to the checkout.